welcome. It's Stephanie here and I'm part of the Card Creators Plus team along with Tammy and Bernie, and in today's video I'm going to make this double box card. It's a really straightforward card. You don't need any specialty dies or machines. All you need is a scoreboard and a trimmer. So it is really quite easy to make. And what I did as well, this one is 5.5 inches square and it folds flat to fit in an envelope. But I know in the US a lot of people like to make cards that are 5.5 by 4.25. So I did a template just in copy paper, which is the normal thing I do. All the scores and the measurements this way are identical to this. The only difference is instead of cutting it at 5.5, you would cut it at 4.25. Still 5.5 inches for the actual this part of the card, which is 11 inches piece of cardstock. This I did slightly different, still the same scores, but I did this a piece of card that was 5 inches and scored, where this one is 5.5. So there's a bigger gap here, but quite honestly, if it went 5.5, it would come to this point, and I think maybe that might be nicer to just come a little bit further on. But if, as you look, you can see if you put them up to each other, they are the same in the length, same in the box, it's just the height. So it depends which way you want to do it, but I thought I would give you that option as well. And again, it folds completely flat. Okay, so let's have a look what we're doing now. So here we've got the template. I've had to shrink it down to fit onto an A4 piece of paper, but the actual measurements are accurate, even though it's smaller to look at. So we need 2 pieces of cardstock, one that is 11 inches by 5.5, or if you're going to do the smaller one, 4.25. And the second box, the top piece, is 5.5 inches in length by 3.5 inches. The bigger one is scored at 1/2 inch, 2 inches for 5.5, and the smaller one 1/2 inch and 2 inches. So that's the score lines. To say it's very straightforward, everything is straight, the lines, the score lines and the cutting. So it's just a little bit of attention to detail when we're actually gluing it and putting it together, but it is really quite simple. And I think once you've done one, you'll do many of them in different designs. Okay, let's move the template now. I'll get my scoreboard and the cardstock and we'll get busy making it. So that's the scoreboard, and we'll get the 2 pieces of cardstock that we need. This is the long one, the 11-inch one. I'm going to score this now, and the first score is 1/2 inch, 2 inches, 4 inches, whoops, buckling the card then, and 5.5. That's all the score lines for that one. And then the little piece, it's just 2 score lines on this one, so we're going to score it at 1/2 inch and at 2 inches. And we can put the scoreboard away now because we don't need it anymore. That's it. No more cutting, no more scoring. Everything done. Right, what we'll do now, we'll burnish them. And all of the burnish, all of the score lines, they're all going to be burnished and folded inwards. So give them a good burnish and fold them in. And with this card, you can do it portrait and landscape, and the one that I've just done was a landscape card, but the next one we're going to do is a portrait, because I just wanted to show you the options that you've got with it. So it's going to be just slightly different because it's going to be tipped on its side. Okay, so I've scored all the pieces there, and this will actually make the box. And then we'll score this one, and this is going to make the box that fits on the top. again, all the score lines folded inwards. And that's it. So now we'll put it together. We'll start with this piece. This is going to fold in like this, but I'm just going to turn it over like this, and I'm going to put tape and glue on here. I'm putting the tape on it. I'll just get my tools. I'm putting the tape on because it'll grab a bit quicker for the video than messing about waiting for glue to dry. I'm going to put this on, but I do like to put a little bit of glue on as well, because the glue gives it extra stick, and it also gives a little bit of wiggle room if you just don't get it right. I'll pop that there, burnish that down, and then I'll take off these bits of the outer tape, get my glue, put a little bit of glue on. I'm doing what Tammy does now. I've put it in a jar with a baby wipe in it, so it just keeps it from having to shake it when I've undone it, so it just runs freely then. It doesn't get blocked up, so that's a help. Okay, so I've glued that piece, and then what you're going to do now, you're going to fold it down just 2 pieces. So if you look, you've got the main part, 1, 2, 3, and the tiny 1/2 inch score. So what you're going to do is fold it so you end up with the 1/2 inch and the 1.5 inch one. And this one is the score that folds at the half point of the card, the 5.5 inch. So if you fold that down like that, then bring the card over like that and just give it a good squish down and rub it down. When you undo it, that's it, there's your box made, which is super easy, isn't it? Okay, so now we're going to decorate it. Can you see, look, it folds completely flat as well, so it will go in an envelope, no problems. Giving it a good burnish again to make sure it's burnished well. That's it. Right, what I've done now with all the panels, I didn't want you having to mess about and wait for me matting and layering, so I've actually matted and layered them before I've started. And for this panel here, whoops, I'll just get this here. The piece that's left on the card here is 3.5 inches by obviously 5.5. So I've done the panel, the outer blue panel, at 3.25, and the green one at 3 inches, because I always go 1/4 inch in, giving myself 1/8 inch border the whole way around. So we'll glue this one on now. So I didn't want to have to do 2 or 3 layers and then you're having to sit waiting for me to glue them all up, so I thought I'd get them done beforehand, but it doesn't take quite as long. Okay, we'll better just make sure I've put enough on there. Okay, now there is something I want to say about this. I'm going to put this on and then I'll just explain something else about it. My card stock and the patterns, they are not directional. So it doesn't matter when I finish my card whether it stands up like that or it stands up like that. But if you've got directional paper and you want to, and you've decided which way you're going to have it, just bear that in mind when you're doing it, that you need to put it in the right direction. As I say, it doesn't really matter for this because it's not directional, but for argument's sake, if I'd done this one, whoops a minute, I'll just get the one that I was made before. When I did this one, the hearts are that way around, but if I'd have wanted to do a card that was this way, it would have been wrong. I would have had to have turned it round. So, and there's nothing worse than if you glue something on and then you've messed it up and you've got to start all over again. So always bear that in mind. If it's a directional paper, make sure you know before you're gluing it on which way your card is going to be. Is it going to be landscape or is it going to be portrait? Right, we'll do this now and pop this one on. Trying to line them up to get them so that they're pretty level. I think that's about right. Give them a good press down. So those are those two panels. And this time, so I'm doing my card this way instead of that way. So I'm going to do a panel here, but I've actually didn't want to do it too much and it looked too much of the green polka dots. So what I've done, I'm just going to put a panel that's just a plain blue on there, and I have embossed it just to give it a little bit more detail because it was just a plain piece of card. So we'll pop this on here and glue it on. I'm making sure I put a little bit more glue on that because with embossing it, it's got like lots of little holes in it, so I want to make sure there's enough glue to stick it down. Okay, so let's pop this onto here. That's going to be on the centre panel. I think it looks better that it's just plain blue rather than having too much of the green on. So that's that part of it done. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to get the small panel right. So what I'm going to do is just going to put this under a heavy weight just to make sure it's stuck down properly. I always find that helps. It helps the glue to squash into the paper. Okay, now this is the panel that we're going to do on the front, and while I'm just letting that glue, I might as well put these on. And what I've done with this one, again, this is 3.5 inches square. It's 5.5 inches, but obviously we've scored it. So this little panel on the front is 3.5 inches. So I've done the blue at 3.25 inches, and I've done the white panel at 3 inches square. So when that fits on there, that's just got a nice little border all the way around it. So we'll put this panel on here as well now. I don't know what the weather is where you are, but we had a really lovely sunny day yesterday. It was lovely, and yet we'd had days of rain, and I can't believe it. And today, after all that lovely sunshine yesterday, got up this morning and it's pouring down again. So I'm really ready for some nice weather instead of keep having rain. Right, let's have a look and see. Put this little panel on here. And that's done. And now, again, I've just got a small piece of the plain blue just from the side there. So I'll stick that down and I'll put this one on. Really does come together really quite quickly, this card. And I was looking and I thought, oh, that would look nice at, on the portrait position with a Christmas tree on. I was thinking about Christmas cards. I don't know whether you saw Tammy's Christmas card last week, which was absolutely gorgeous with all the little animals on and the carol books. So if you haven't seen it, please watch it because it's really lovely. Okay, so that's the panels again there. Now while that's sticking on there, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did with the other box part. I'm going to put some tape on this 1/2 inch part here. That's it. And just trim off the edge. Just smooth it to make sure it's adhered to it properly. Now hopefully that one should have stuck down nicely, so we'll get it back. Yeah, that's stuck down well. And because I've put it under that book to flatten down, I'm just going to burnish it again. Just to keep the creases together. Okay. Right. So this is the panel that's going to fit on here, and it's going to fold down and fit there. So what we're going to do is fold this up exactly like we did with the other one, just folding it with the panel and the 1/2 inch. I'll take off the tape. Get rid of that. And then a little bit of glue, just to give it some wiggle room, and a little bit of extra stick. And put that onto there. Right, now when you come to put this on here, you fold this flat and you fold this in, so that when you folded it, you have got 1/2 inch and the 1.5 inch panel. And those are going to be towards the outside of your card. Okay, and what you do then is decide roughly where you want it from side to side. Hold it in place, don't stick it down yet until you're sort of happy with where you've got it. I'm happy there. And you want to bring it as near to the edge, but don't go over the edge, as you can here. So you want it right up to the edge, but not going over the top. I'm just making sure that I've got that in the right position, and I think I'm happy with it, and then just push it down. So this panel is level with that. It hasn't gone over the edge, and hopefully that's stuck down now. Yep. So that bit's done. So when it rises up, it'll be like that. But what we're going to do now is we need to stick this piece here. And what I do, if you open it up, just like that for now, and this panel here is 2 inches. But I'm going to measure on the inside of here, because nobody sees the pencil mark, I'm going to measure it 1.5 inches. That way, if I stick my tape and glue and make sure it doesn't go over that, then when it's open, nobody's going to see it. You're not going to end up with glue on the outside. It will be contained completely where it should be. So I'll just pop this over here now, and then we'll glue this down. Again, I'm using tape as well for speed, but with some glue. So I'm going to put the tape just inside those markers that I did for the 1.5 inches. And another one. That'll do. And then I'm obviously going to put glue as well. So we've got that, some tape. Just rub it down to make sure it's stuck properly. And then I'm going to take that off and add some glue to give it that extra wiggle and extra stick. Done. Now let's try this. So because I've gone inside the 1.5 inches, I know that it's not going to show that it's not going to come through. So a little bit of glue in between there, a little bit of extra glue there. Now what I'm going to do now is, this is flat, this is stuck down here, this panel isn't, that piece. But you're going to fold it so that you're leaving that, even though that's not glued, you're folding that so that stays down, and you're only going to do that piece there, and you're going to fold that there. So when that's done, there, it's stuck down and it's perfect, and it folds flat. Isn't it an easy card to make? So I say you could have it standing that way, but this one we're going to actually do stood up like that. So it just folds like that, and then it stands up. Okay, so we'll do the rest of the decoration now. So obviously that is when you come to get your embellishments, you're working out, it doesn't really matter with this one because it is a complete square, so really it wouldn't matter which way you put it on, but we're going to have it there. Oh, and before I put the embellishments on, I've got the embellishment here to go onto it and a sentiment. I'm going to fold it flat, make sure which way that I'm going the right way around, and I'm going to put the sentiment on the back. So obviously my card's going to stand up like that, so I want my sentiment to be there. I've just cut a piece of cardstock, because this is 5.5 square. I've cut this at 5.25 to leave a gap round it. And then I'm just going to pop this on here. And there's my sentiment on the back. It just says, a birthday message just to say love and laughter are sent your way. Wishing you a very happy birthday. Right, so we've done that bit. Now all we need to do is do the decoration on the front. And I've put foam on the top, foam pads. There is one thing that you've got to make sure you do, because you could be looking at this and thinking, oh, I'll put it up here. You have to bear in mind that when that's folded flat there, you want to make sure that whatever your image is stays there. You don't want to be putting it there and then find it's way above where it should be. So you're making sure that when you actually stick the image down, the image is not above that, so that it will fit in your envelope, fold flat. And I've done a little bird on that one. I think that goes really well with the blue and the green. And then last but not least is a little sentiment. I put wishing you a fantastic birthday. Now, at first when I was doing it, I loved doing lots of intricate things and putting bows on and doing things, but you've got to bear in mind that when you're doing this, it's got to fold down flat. So if you put something that's really dimensional, it wouldn't fold completely flat, it would leave it raised up. So bear that in mind when you're actually making it. So I'm going to put this onto here. I've put a little bit of foam underneath it, but not a lot. So it will still squish and fold flat. And that is my finished card. So I don't know what you think about it. It's really, really easy card to make. And say I love it because it folds completely flat, but when the recipient gets it, I'm sure they'll feel quite pleased that it looks that little bit special, doesn't it, rather than just a card that's folded in half. So what do you think about that? I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope I've inspired you to have a go and make this card, because it really is a lovely card. And if you've loved it, I would love it if you give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. That way you'll be notified each time we release a video. Anyway, I think that's about it for now. So enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you really soon. Bye bye for now. Bye.